everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 10? Yeah, episode 10 of season 2 of Chihayafuru, but last episode ended on a big old cliffhanger with, is Arata going to get to play in the individual tournaments, or is he not? Is he going to be stuck because he helped his middle school friends cheat? As if you weren't going to get caught, but they're high schoolers, what do you expect? Because he helped his middle school friends cheat, is he actually going to get to play in the individual tournament? And they left us on a cliffhanger, and are we actually going to find out what's going to happen? We'll have to see. But I do have a couple comments from previous episodes I want to go over with you all from Patreon as well as from YouTube before we dive into this episode. So we're just going to jump right into those. Fornoda did a translation of the poem from episode 7 of this season, Meeting and Parting, which was first discussed as a repeat from season 1, episode 10. Joshua Mostow translates the poem as, this is it, this it is, that going to and coming to, continually separating those known and those unknown, meet at the barrier of Osaka. Peter Macmillan translates poem 10 as such. So this is the place, crowds coming, going, meeting, parting, those known, unknown, the gate of Meeting Hill. Macmillan's commentary for the poem as a refresher. Poem 10 is unique in the collection in the way in which the rhyme of its lines creates a marvelous sense of movement. The theme is once again the fragility of life, this time expressed through the evanescence of life's encounters, including those of love. The Osaka barrier, translated here as the gate of Meeting Hill, situated on the edge of Lake Biwa near Kyoto, marked the border between the ancient provinces of Yamashiro and Omi, dividing the eastern and, by extension, lovers, because the ow in Osaka and the archaic spelling of Osaka puns with ow to meet, especially in the context of a romantic encounter, and hence the name meant something like Meeting Hill. Nothing like Notting Hill, which was a series in the US. Our trusty Redditor connects this poem with the episode. We find that even though Mizusawa lost to Hokuo last episode because they placed second, they are still on their way back to nationals. That means returning to Omijingu and the Red Gate located near Lake Biwa. This return to the Gate of Meeting Hill was very difficult to manage, and the club gets some recognition for their effort this episode. Chihaya's mom finally looks away from the older sister Chitose for a moment and notices that she's been neglecting Chihaya because she felt she would be just fine without her watchful eye. It's past time that Chihaya received an award for all her hard work, and a brand new Hakama is a perfect way to jumpstart her confidence after a rough loss. Agreed! Our girl Chihaya, I am always about her deserving flowers. She does not get the recognition that she deserves in this series, and it can be hard as a Chihaya supporter, as a stan of our girl. It can be hard to watch sometimes. I think the going, meeting, parting section of the poem relates to unseen connections between people. Chitose feeds off of Chihaya's newfound determination and decides not to give up on her acting career. Likewise, Chihaya notices that the high school's band is working very hard to reach nationals and could also use a pick-me-up, lending them the second floor of their building. And we talked about all this in the discussion, so I'm not going to repeat it because the Redditor and I, we were sharing wavelengths during the discussion. Go back and listen to the discussion. I basically talked about all of this already. We're going to skip it. And there are some love connections to consider. Hanao, Hanano has joined the Shiranami Karuta Society in order to become closer to Taichi, but she heeds Kana's warnings that there are rules to be followed for expressing her feelings. She also understands that Taichi is keeping his distance from Chihaya because he believes she needs to notice how he feels before he can make just his intentions known. Again, I find that as a major flaw. If you like someone, if you don't let them know, you are assuming that they're going to figure it out, but they may not. They may never, you know? So I'm like, it's a bold move, Cotton. We'll see if it works out. Chihaya hopes to reconnect with both Shinobu and Arata at nationals to continue their own intimate rivalries. Intimate rivalries indeed, especially with Shinobu. But then the Shinobu, it's like Taichi's over here, and there's a love triangle that has Arata, Chihaya, and Shinobu, but none of them are really aware that they're in it. It's just going on. Omijingu is going to bring everyone back together again. This time, they're each prepared for a swift and frenzied encounter. Ooh, hope that's not being spoilery. I don't think it is. The mods would have called it. And then S-Anime for episode 8 said, Anthony is voiced by Miki Shinichiro, who voices Shimada. I love Shimada. Shimada's one of my favorites in March Comes in Like a Lion. He has such a calm and soothing voice. Likewise, I agree, S-Anime 100%. And then Alexander Q said for episode 8, one aspect that I love about this match is how much they all seem to appreciate each other. Up to this point, it has felt naturally as if we are comforting rivals with each game. Sure, they're important rivals that we managed to learn from and have some fun while playing, but it's still that core antagonistic relationship that shines with all of them. Until now, because this game reminded me a lot of the dynamic of there's two teams in Haikyuu. You can probably guess which ones, but go to her comment in episode 8 on Patreon if you want to see. A rival team that is much more of a friend than anything else. Just good friends that we compete with, not to see who is better, but because it's so much fun to help each other be the best. And I love that dynamic for them. Yes, I absolutely agree with Alexander Q on the dynamic of the Chiba team and their dynamic with Mizusawa. So that was really good. But yeah, thank you all so much for the comments. I know I take so long through these intros, but I just want to highlight the comments that you guys take the time to write for me if they bear information that I think is good to know. So thank you, Fornoda, for the translations of the poems. Thank you all so much. Here's my thing. I'm like, are they going to give us, surely they would give us what's going to happen with Arata for the individual tournament. Surely. But I don't know. Maybe they'll force him to like make a statement or go on like a little mini trial with the heads of the tournament to kind of explain what happened and maybe get some forgiveness. I don't know how that's going to work. But anyway, I'm super excited. I'm going to lean this chair up just a wee bit and ignore my dog because my dog wants me to throw a toy and this is not the time. I swear, I've created a Pavlovian situation and I'm very aware of it. But anyway, we are going to start Chihayafuru episode 10 of season 2, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Ooh, these matches are tense. This match is tense. This episode, I'm glad we got what we did out of it because at the beginning, I thought we weren't getting anything with Arata. Glad that we did. And then I thought that we weren't going to have much of a contest with this group, but they actually put up more of a fight than I thought they would. It was one of those really kind of frustratingly tense episodes because we know they're not going to lose in this round, right? It's not going to happen. It's the opponent. If they lost against this team and didn't go up against Hokuo or any of the other 2 teams that have been previewed, you know how that song and dance goes in sports anime. So you know they're going to beat them. But it's one of those frustrating episodes where they put up a good fight and you're like, ugh. And then as the episode went on, I felt my tension kind of like melt away from my shoulders. I was like, okay, we're getting into this. We're learning about Arata's situation. We're getting more into that. I'm not going to lie to you all. I realize that almost every person that comments on YouTube and Patreon are not only Taichi supporters, but Taichi and Chihaya shippers. Y'all are going to have to deal with me. Please don't try to convince me otherwise. I want the series to do that for me, but I am not a Taichi and Chihaya shipper right now. And I loved Taichi. He's such a good character. He's such a well-developed, layered character. And I relate a lot to Taichi. And I get onto him because I care about him. And I want him to do better. But I'm not going to lie to you all. He's disappointing me a lot in this arc in various ways. He's disappointing me. And I think one of the ways is when we start out this episode, we have Chihaya. We go back to where Taichi's like worried about Chihaya being distracted by Arata, when the reality is Taichi is projecting his own insecurity about his jealousy surrounding Arata. And she locks in the first 30 seconds and is like, look, we need to do well because I want him to see how great we are. And I'm like, boom, mic drop, done. We should be over that. But then he brings up the same bullshit at the end of this episode. And it's like, I'm like, Taichi, did you learn nothing? Do you have you can memorize these damn cards really well, but all this other stuff, you're like a goldfish. Like we've forgotten everything else that happened. And I'm just disappointed in Taichi right now. I'm disappointed in him. He needs to do better. And I'm sorry, but that's just my feelings about it. You all will not convince me otherwise. And maybe the show will let us have those moments. But I was very disappointed in him in this episode. We'll get to that when we get to it. But anyway, so the second round of the group stage is against Miyoka. So we have the team itself is Yamaguchi, Miyoka. Maybe I would feel, we'll get to Taichi. I'll think about it a little more. But Yamaguchi Miyoka is our opponents for this one. And they are all like these quiz bowl kids. They're a public school. Most of their students, they have the most students that get accepted to Tokyo University, which is like the big school, like the Harvard of Japan, probably. I think that's my comparison of them. But yeah, of course, I love how the Empress is all like, oh my gosh, they're just like all these smart kids, these academic wonders, the polar opposite of Chihaya. So she's, of course, really excited that we're facing such an opponent. I love that Nishida's like, they're all wearing glasses. Like, there was definitely like a certain protein deficiency in the town where they all have to wear glasses. You know how it goes. It's a genetic defect they all have. I can't say anything. I'm blind as a bat without contacts or glasses. So yeah. And Taichi's like, we shouldn't be worrying about the fact that they all have glasses, but Taichi notices three of them won the All Japan High School Quiz Championship. I do think that one thing I really liked about this with Taichi's character is that it brings to light, because if you all recall, back at the beginning of this series, Taichi is a very smart person. He is smart. He doesn't think that he is, but I'm like, come on, you are. You made really good grades in school. Shut up. You were like the highest in your class. Let's be frank. So Taichi's smart. So the fact that he would keep up with who's on the quiz championships, it's like, of course he would. He probably did the quiz championships at one point. His mom probably made him do it until a girl beat him and then he moved to a new sport, you know? So Taichi is a smart person and he keeps track with these things. So we shouldn't be surprised by that. He's like, why are they playing Karuta? But then he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, why do we keep getting matched against weird opponents? I wish Taichi would embrace his weird. I wish he would embrace it. Because again, Taichi and Sumire, very good sides of the same coin. Sumire doesn't want to embrace her weirdness. Sumire is weird. She just doesn't want to embrace it. She's like, no, I'm pumpkin spice. And I'm like, nah, girl, you're like chai at least. And Taichi is kind of like wants to be the pumpkin spice in male version. And I'm like, no. Just embrace your weird. Embrace it. If he embraces the weird, he could be unstoppable. But right now, he's holding himself back. And I get it. I can relate. But I'm like, just embrace the weirdness. Let it come. So I wanted to watch this episode today, too, because the rainy atmosphere felt very appropriate. I had this shirt on today, and then I was like, well, it kind of reminds me of Dr. Harata. So I'll just wear it for the reaction. But yeah, so he's like, we absolutely have to win. One thing about Taichi's character that was frustrating with me at the beginning of the episode was, and this is kind of why his arc in this matchup has been kind of disappointing to me. I like Taichi's character and he's doing well in a lot of places, but there are areas I'm like, you know, you're having all these internal monologues about what you need to do as a character and as a leader and stuff, but he's not vocalizing any of it. He's not saying like, let's go team. And I guess he lets Chihaya have it, but I'm also like, if he really is worried about the team, like say something, bring it up, like vocalize it. Like I'm a communications person. So I'm like, you gotta say what you need to say. Like, just come on. And Taichi's not doing that. And so then when he gets in his own head, it kind of becomes this spiral. And I understand that, but just speak up. Just speak up. I'm waiting for him to do it. Because he definitely has the ability to. He's just second guessing himself and doubting himself. And I'm like, come on. And I know people will be like, well, it's not that easy. I'm like, well, bitch, I know. But I've done it, so I know it's possible. So I feel like it is within my right to demand that of a character, especially one that if you talk a big game, if you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. And that's just, I'm waiting for Taichi to get to that point. And I know he is a slow burn of a character, but man, this arc with him, he's like, we've spent so much time on competitive Karuta. We can do this. But he doesn't say it. I'm like, if you believe they can do it, then say it out loud, bitch. Just say it. And of course, Chihaya, she's like, oh my God, the memorization, which is not Chihaya's strong suit. Her and Nishida and Scuba are kind of in the same boat. So the episode is called Rain Takes Longer to Dry, right? I think I like the title because, once you're wet, you're like, well, once you're wet, you'll dry eventually, right? But rain is constant. So when things start to pile up, it's harder to see. It's a good metaphor for when bad things start to pile up. It's very easy to kind of let that weigh you down without realizing this too shall pass. Like at some point, the rain will stop. At some point, you will dry up. At some point, things will go back to normal. It just may seem very doom and gloom for now, but eventually that will pass and you'll be able to move forward, right? That's what he's getting at. So here we have Arata. Arata awaiting to see what the council is going to decide. So what do we do? I am very intrigued by this conversation. As someone that is old enough and in a educational field where I have been in these types of conversations and these types of meetings, it's a very intriguing conversation. So with Arata, we have this decision that has to be made for the individual tournament. And we talked about it a little bit last week. So there is the discussion where this is the first time, which kind of shows how brash and brazen they were. This is the first time that someone actually attempted a substitution. You would think that it was one of those rules they made because it had happened before, but maybe they were just like, hey, this feels like it's straightforward and common sense, but we're going to tell you anyway, right? Anyway, so they're like, there's never been a substitution. I do agree with the one woman that was like, we can't compare baseball and basketball, like, with Karuta. I agree with that. Different associations, different things. I feel like the circumstances are different too. So I get that. I'm like, yeah, we shouldn't compare Karuta to those. But then this one guy speaks up. They're like, we should look towards... I disagreed where she was like, we should look towards a less harsh sport. I disagreed with that part because I think she was just trying to be like, well, badminton doesn't do this, so we should be fine. I definitely agree that... To give Huckleberry his toy. I definitely agree that on the one hand, we shouldn't be comparing Karuta to other sports because their associations, their rules are entirely different. I don't think we should cherry pick sports to compare to because that doesn't seem fair. But then this one guy brings up this mentality and I kind of was with him. He was like, letting this slide won't teach our students anything. Where he's like, we have to make an example. And it's a very precarious discussion. I like that the one coach and Murao are in the middle and they can't say anything because they're like clearly on, conflict of interest. And this guy's like, if, what's his name? Masuoka Masato. He's like a grade 6 committee member instructor. If his purpose is to participate in the individual tournament, his punishment should be that he doesn't get to play. Like, so he basically is like, we need to make an example and we need to follow the rules so that it won't happen again. And honestly, I kind of agree with him on that. I want Arata to play so badly. I want him to play and I want him to be able to have that chance. But I get where this guy's coming from. He's like, if we let it slide with Arata, two things. One, someone else is going to try it in the future and they're going to be like, well, you let him do it. Why not me? And he's like, two, if we let it slide, we're clearly playing favoritism because of his lineage. And they try to circumvent that. And I was like, ooh, because at first he's like, well, just because he's the, Eternal Master's grandson does not mean that we need to let it slide. And I agree with that. You don't want to play favoritism based on their family, right? He's like, it's our duty as educators to punish him by taking it away. And I mean, I kind of am with him. You have to make those hard decisions. Arata should have said no. And I get that it's the sports anime logic of, well, we're just going to let it slide. Arata's going to get to play. He's going to get to play. But the circumstances of it, I'm okay with it for one specific reason, but we'll get there. He's like, well, Arata-kun is special. And he's like, oh, because he's the grandson of the Eternal Master? And they're like, well, no, that's not why. So here's the thing. You knew that if they brought up him being... the grandson, they were going to be like, no, we can't play favoritism because of his lineage, because of that. That's not going to slide. People are really not going to like that. But this guy says, oh no, that's not the reason. He says because he's a marvelous Karuta player. So let's talk about Suo. No one likes Suo, apparently, which is so crazy to me. I feel like a lot of people don't like Shinobu, and that's because they feel like she's cold and unfeeling and they can't relate to her, which is not wrong. But like I felt kind of bad for Shinobu last season. Suo is kind of a douche, and everyone else thinks he's a douche. I was like, ha, that's really funny. So we're gonna put Suo in here. Their whole thing is that Arata is special because Arata is a professional. He is a great Karuta player. And that, I'm going to throw my dog's toy whilst I talk to you all. I dare say that Master Suo can only be defeated by Arata if he continues to mature. So this is a pretty bold claim. Everyone else at this tournament be damned. But Arata, they think that Arata could be, if he matures enough, if he gets enough experience, that they think that he can beat him, that he could be the one to beat Suo. Which I'm like, meanwhile, F Taichi's drag. And F the drag of Morale and everybody else, because apparently they're not good enough to beat him. But yeah, he can only be defeated if he continues. Now, I'm so curious about this one little exchange where they're like, we cannot deny that Suo is strong. But interestingly enough, they show this little background moment. I guess I'm okay if they let Arata play in this tournament, even though I fully agree with the instructor about making an example. You don't want people to think that others have advantages over others and can skirt by the rules. I am very much like all in favor of that justice being enforced, making it equal and fair for everybody. But I think 2 reasons I'm okay with this verdict that I think they're going to reach. One, you see Suo where he's like, oh, sunglasses aren't allowed. Why not? But yeah, so you see Suo being like, well, why not sunglasses? What's the point? I'm like, oh, so Suo has tested them before. So we established that Suo is someone that tests the rules. He tests the rules and he's like, well, why not? Where's your loophole? Where's your thing that tells me not to? And they say that Suo is strong, but he's strange. Well, every strong player in this game is strange. But his strange behavior makes it difficult to use him as a model for children. Yeah, he's strange and not a good role model. Suo is fascinating. They basically are like, look, the kids aren't going to want to play Karuta the way they're supposed to play it because Suo's not a good role model. Suo sounds like this freak of nature that was like, I'm going to be a master at Karuta. And now that he's won, he's like, and I'm not going to lose. So, yeah. And I feel like maybe Suo is using Karuta as a ways of procrastinating moving forward in his life. So he's reached this comfortable position where he's like, I really don't want to advance. I'm kind of good right here. And I don't want to face the unknown when I know that this is a certainty right in this moment. So he's like, I think I'll just stay and I won't worry about it. He's not a Kuro from IQ. He's like, I believe it's our duty to... They basically want somebody to beat Suo, is what it amounts to. They want someone to beat Suo. They say Suo has to be stopped. Someone has to beat him. And they think Arata has the best chance of doing so. Again, F everybody else's drag. F Pseudo's drag, F Taichi's drag, F everybody, except for Arata. And they're like, it's our duty to nurture that growth. I also wonder if it makes a difference because Arata took a year off or took 2 years off after his grandfather died. And so he's behind. If Arata had been on the scene and if his grandfather hadn't passed, I don't know if this mentality would be the same. And that's just being realistic with it. But they definitely want him to beat Suo. Which is interesting. And of course, Morale and them is like, there's so much pressure on Arata. And so Morale gets it. The one guy says there's so much pressure on Arata, which I think Arata's fairly good under pressure compared to Taichi, who's the polar opposite. But I like Morale's realization that they really don't like Suo. Because Morale, if you recall, part of his... Also, F Morale's drag. Morale's been trying to face Suo and beat him, and he's just like, oh, you guys have no faith in me doing it? Cool, great, glad I'm here. Glad I'm here listening. But he's like, they don't like him at all. And so and then the one guy's like, oh God, he's right. And then you have Suo's like, I don't know if I'll graduate this year. I was like, what? He's like, oh, Suo is the biggest headache the Karuta world has ever seen. I don't know when I'll graduate. I want to see him lose as soon as possible. But that doesn't make it right. So yeah, so Suo is basically holding his education hostage. And Suo says he won't graduate as long as he's master. And the school's like, we need you to leave. we need you to quit being a super, super senior. We need you to get out. Go on. I don't know why they don't just make him graduate. I don't know why him losing Karuta has to be the sole reason. Like, Yumi graduated. She didn't hold it hostage, but maybe she just wasn't playing the game correctly in that sense. I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know why they just tell Suo, be like, you have to graduate or you can't play Karuta. I don't know if there's any stipulation to that. Maybe it's not in stone and Suo would contest those rules since he contested the sunglasses thing. I'm curious. Suo looks so unsuspecting, but I'm like, he kind of seems like a douchebag. A little bit. But yeah, so then Shoji comes in, and here's my one thing. My one thing is, I feel like it's okay that they let Arata play because it's not like it's blatant favoritism. I kind of feel for Suo a little bit because I'm like, man, nobody likes you, and you're just holding, you're holding the game hostage. But this is why I'm okay with it. If they let Arata play, this is why I'm okay with it. Because here's the thing. Unlike, I'm just going to say it, Arata and Taichi are polar opposites. Unlike Taichi, who we don't know for sure, I'm assuming, I'm making an ass out of myself. Y'all know this. But I think if Taichi was faced with this situation, I think it would cross Taichi's mind. He's like, well, maybe they'll let me play. Maybe they'll do this. Maybe they'll let this happen. Or he'd be like, I need to try to make this happen so I can do X, Y, and Z. I think Taichi would do that. Arata has already resigned himself, being the freaking gentleman that he is. He's like, no, I did something wrong. I'm going to accept the punishment. I'm really sorry, Chihaya and Taichi. And then Arata has this self-realization that he's like, I was jealous of what everybody's all jealous. Grass is always greener on the other side, right? So Arata was jealous that Taichi and Chihaya were a team. So maybe the deal with his parents is if he can win this tournament and he can face Suo, maybe the deal is that he can move to Taichi and Chihaya's high school and go to school there and be on their team. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know. But I do respect Arata, that Arata was like, I deserve this punishment. I messed up. I'm going to accept your decision. Arata is also the polar opposite of Suo. Suo seems like he's very like brazen, doesn't care about the rules. He's like, whatever, I'm just winning this game. Arata is the ideal role model. He really is. He's a sweetheart. He's diligent. He doesn't rock the boat. He's not rude. He's very polite. He is also very like smart and talented and kind. Like, he's the ideal competitor. And these older people in this conference room realize that. He's like, I have to accept my punishment. And they all look at him and they're like, well, wait, Arata, you don't have to necessarily accept the punishment. But what does he do there? He's like, they're begging him. He's like, no, I'm going to accept my punishment. And they're like, well, in that case, and he's like, they can't do that. Like, they were ready to fold the moment Arata was like, I have to accept my punishment. I think that is what will make it, in my mind, okay. Because the moment that they were like, oh, well, in that case, we can find a loophole to let you play. If Arata had been like, really? It might have been different. But the fact that Arata had accepted his punishment was like, no, I did something wrong. It's okay. I'm like, that shows his humility. That shows his humbleness. That shows what a great person he is. I'm like, I'm okay with letting him play if that was the case. He's just that nice of a person. I think what's going to seal the deal is the fact that Shinobu's like, well, if Arata's not playing, I'm not playing. And I'm like, they're going to lose all their top members. And they're like, Shinobu, you have to play. And she's like, F this. Like, oh, he's like, I was focused on winning the individual tournament, but it was mainly that I was just jealous that you had your own team. He's like, ugh. I felt for Arata because I felt for him because he really was just jealous that Taichi and Chihaya had started a team and he wanted to be there with them. And he was trying to just ignore those feelings to be like, oh, I'm just here for the individual tournament. But that was a lie. I love Arata. I feel for him. I feel for our sweet bean. So we go back to Oikawa. This series has no Oikawa. Oikawa Tominari. We're gonna say that he's Haikyuu Oikawa's cousin. We're gonna say they're cousins. Maybe he's the husband of Oikawa's sister, and the guy took her name. In this world, we're gonna combine. We're gonna do a crossover. That's what we're gonna do. But he's 38, and he's their advisor. He's super tall, by the way. And like the Empress is like, hi, what a lovely team that you have. And he's like, oh yeah, they're all third years. He's like, we're just playing Karuta to help with exams. It's just fun to beat people that are serious about this game along the way. And the Empress is like, finish them. I love the Empress's catchphrase is basically like, just kill them. Like, make them pay for thinking this. Especially you, Ayase. I love that the Empress thinks of Chihaya in this moment because Chihaya is the furthest from getting good grades, but she cares so much about Karuta. The Empress is like, you better win. And she does. She does end up winning. This part right here, around the 6-minute mark, up until like halfway through the episode, was so nerve-wracking because we find out that these guys are they have the cards memorized. I'm glad that Taichi realized that these guys are playing like Taichi plays. They kind of have similar strengths that Taichi does, where they have the cards memorized, so they can play those games with their opponents and kind of take advantage of that. And I was like, yes, Taichi, you should do similar things to that. Taichi just had more Karuta smarts to go along with the memorization that made him do really well in this match, which was good. When Taichi is confident, he is amazing. When Taichi is doubtful or worried more about Chihaya than himself, he goes into this toxic state, and I don't like Taichi when he's like that. I'm like, you need to just get away. You know what? And that might be. I feel like Taichi is so... I love that Taichi is on the team with Chihaya, but there are times where she brings out the best in him, and then there are times where she brings out the worst in him. And I'm like, I can't really ship them because she does bring out the worst in him sometimes. And I'm like, when it's good, it's great. But when it's bad, I'm like, oh, this makes you toxic. And I don't know. I feel like Taichi just needs to give up on his crush with Chihaya, focus on himself, and that will make him a better person. And then, if it's meant to be, then you either tell her that you love her after you've done some self-discovery, or she'll see for herself. But you can't stay in this like toxic state of waiting. Right? And that's kind of where he is for me right now. But yeah, and nobody else is everyone else that comments are all Taichi Chihaya supporters, so I very much am on my lonely little hill. But I'll stay on my lonely little hill. It's fine. So yeah, this curly-haired guy that faces up against her, this curly-haired guy, he was interesting. Now, again, right as she's playing, Taichi is like, Chihaya, be careful. And I'm like, don't focus on Chihaya. Focus on yourself. He's like, no, they understand Karuta. They're good. They're not just like, a team playing for fun or that are inexperienced. And so this curly-haired guy has kind of figured out Chihaya's strategy. His name is Nakayama Manabu, who specializes in astronomy, which is why he knows the whole stars thing about Vega and Bellatrix, and we'll talk about that. But he's the vice president in the same position that Chihaya is, which is interesting. This man found out a kink today. He discovered a kink, and I was like, oh, he learned something about himself, y'all, and we need to talk about it. He's nicknamed Poseidon, which is over, like, I relate to Neptune. I know there's, like, Greek versus Roman and all this. Also, they have, like, the red and white striped Sam hat, like, top hat with the Quiz Bowl thing. That's interesting. Is that just, like, a Quiz Bowl thing standard? It looks like an Uncle Sam American flag hat, just with a question mark above it. So these guys in the Karuta Society got him to come and help them while he was studying, and that's when he realized how much he enjoyed Karuta, because it reminded him of the buzzers and the quiz game that he was competing in. He's like, oh, this is just like it. The idea of you either lagging and waiting for the answer or buzzing in the moment you hear the sound. It's very similar to Karuta. He found a way to connect those together, right? Also, I love anytime they've shown the flashbacks where they say they're watching the Queen and Masters match. It's mainly just the Queen match they show because nobody likes Suo. Interesting. Which Shinobu is fascinating. They do show Suo in this a little bit, so I can't say that. So yeah, so it shows them, he's like, it's just like the unique syllables in competitive Karuta. And he displays how the two, like the lag effect and the buzzer effects all go down. Again, I like that Chihaya is facing opponents where she's learning the different styles and realizing it. And I like that this guy with the curly hair is like, I don't have game sense necessarily, but I have problem-solving skills. I have quick decision-making skills. I would argue, going out on a limb, that Mizusawa does not have the best quick decision-making skills. I think we still have to work on that just a wee bit. We got to work on that just a wee bit. In my humblest opinions. And she's like, wow, he knew which card to go after. And so he's like, I'm going to move he kept moving his cards, and she was like, this is annoying and frustrating. And so the teacher, Oikawa, says, I'm his teacher, and I would describe his intelligence and memory as freakish. Which is kind of like Taichi, honestly. Kind of like Taichi. So then she's like, what do I do? She's like, I believed in my own card. She's like, what are we going to do in this? She's like, I need to get back in my groove. I need to like start getting back in the swing of things. And that's when she looks over, and as the lightning strikes in the window, she sees Shinobu. Her spider sense tingles, and Shinobu is like braced by the lightning watching Chihaya through the window. Now, I feel like Shinobu is a combination of many things. One, Shinobu is very frustrated because her bird flyer event was canceled because of the rain. Two, she's soaked and she sought refuge under the awning, and the game just happened to be the one with Chihaya. Three, she views Chihaya as a potential rival. We could have more than one rival in this game. And so she views, I'm going to put, we have Shinobu up here. Shinobu views Chihaya as a potential rival, but she was probably disappointed at her in this game, you know. And then also, she views Arata as a rival. And I think Chihaya views Arata as a rival too. She wants to face Arata. She wants to play against him, but she also wants to face him, so she probably views Arata as a rival as well. So it's created this little triangle. Not necessarily a love triangle, because here's the thing. I feel like this show at times is the show, it gives me the vibes of it wants us to kind of ship Shinobu and Arata together, and I'm like, But other times, Arata's just unfortunately stuck with Shinobu, where he's like, Shinobu is she's too crass for Arata. She is too much for Arata. I'm like, no, Shinobu is way too much for you. But Shinobu does not have a crush on Arata. She just views him as like the person that beat her, and she wants to play him again until she beats him. It's a competitive rivalry. Arata wants to play Chihaya as much as Chihaya wants to play Arata, but that's because they're friends, right? But there's not at this point any romantic connection there. And then Shinobu, Chihaya may like Shinobu, but this series is too much of a coward to let us have Yuri, so they're just going to be like friendly rivals, right? So there's like varying degrees of the rivalry. And here's the thing though. Here's the thing. To Chihaya's point, and against Taichi's worries, she walks away, and Chihaya's like, okay, that was the queen. Here's my thing. Taichi is all worried that Chihaya is going to get distracted, and she's not going to be able to focus. But we just saw one of the people she wants to see, which is Shinobu. They saw each other. Did Chihaya get distracted? No. She locked the F in and was like, that's the queen. She's lost weight. She's back on her A game. I gotta do the same. If I'm gonna face Arata and Shinobu, I've gotta get on my A game. I've gotta lock in. And that's exactly what she frickin' did. She locked in and figured out what she needed to do to beat the curly-haired guy. And I'm like, Taichi, you don't have to worry about Chihaya. She can lock in. Arata isn't source of inspiration with her. You're just jealous of that fact and that you're not getting inspired by Arata the way that you should be, and you're overthinking everything. So I'm like, ah. So then Shinobu gets in. I like that Arata is just concerned about Shinobu's health in general. He's just like, are you okay? Are we fine? If you ship Arata and Shinobu, I do see the show wanting to kind of push that agenda a little bit. I'm just not taking the bait for it. I think that Shinobu's way too abrasive for Arata. That girl would snap him in half in 2 seconds. I was like, no. They just need to be rivals, like competitive rivals. She's like, I won't be able to play. He's like, I broke the rules, I can't play. And she's like, oh no, you are going to play or I'm going to forfeit. And they're like, well, you legally can't do that. And she's like, well, I will. She's like, I don't know what you did, Arata, but you begged them to let you play. And I'm asking you to let him play. And he's like, why are you doing this? And she's like, I didn't get to watch the Birdman rally. And now can you not disappoint me any further? Do you not want to play against me? I love it. And he's like, okay, fine. I love that. I love it. Yep. Will Shinobu and Arata see me when they watch me? What will Shinobu and Arata see when they watch me? That's the thing. I'm okay with this because I like Shinobu. Shinobu's like, I showed up wanting to face the toughest person here. You're the toughest person here. I've already didn't get to watch the Birdman rally. Don't disappoint me by taking this away too. Just shut up and apologize and let's go. Love it. Love Shinobu for that. But this is what I'm talking about. Chihaya's like, she locked in and was like, I want Shinobu and Arata to see how much I've grown. To see that I'm not the high school first year. That I'm not the 6th grade me. She's like, I want them to see just how strong I've become. Which is the mentality you should have. Like, she's like, I want to show them the best of me. And she locks in and gets it done. We're going to go back to that. Meanwhile, Sumire, I like that Sumire, girl does not want to get wet. Don't blame her. Also, the fact that Tsutomu is having a great arc. I love Tsutomu in this. I love how much Tsutomu is just like, he's surrounded by all these people that have suddenly been magnetically connected to him. I love it. Like, these 3 guys, I love that Tsutomu's like, yeah, we can share this umbrella. So adorable. And he's like, well, I like that Sumire asks, they didn't say it was going to rain. And Tsutomu's like, well, I always come prepared. I was watching an episode of Canada's Drag Race last night, and Paula Abdul was the guest judge on it. And she said one of the best things you can do to prepare in a competition is, well, first you have to practice. Practice, and rehearse. The other thing is you have to be prepared. If you fail to prepare to fail. And I was like, that really struck with me. I was like, yes, absolutely. And Tsutomu's like, I don't take chances. If there's a option that it might happen, I come prepared. So then he looks at her notes and says, first, Akashi's girls all look ordinary. The girl in the front with long hair, pink checkered handbag, white hand towel, pink maroon phone strap. She's like, it was too far away to see the cards, but I wouldn't have understood what was going on anyway. And he's like, oh, thanks. Even the color of their socks. Here's the thing. I think Tsutomu realizes that Sumire is doubting herself. She's got really good observational skills, and she notices things, and she can take very astute observations. She's just not being able to apply it to Karuta right now. And Tsutomu kind of is like, I feel like Tsutomu is realizing it's a waste to not have Sumire be practicing Karuta because she's doubting herself and doesn't think she's good enough. And he's like, no, I think that you actually are. So I think he's going to put her in. I think that Nishida and him are going to be like, no, you need to come in and take Scuba's place in the next round. And you need to try something. Because she is really good. She just doesn't think she's like Taichi. She doesn't think she's good enough. And she has potential. She just has to nurture and cultivate that potential to become something great. And she doesn't think it's possible. She's like, I thought everyone else in our mat club was itching, but maybe Kamino-senpai is different. And here's the thing. I don't think Kamino is being the sacrificial lamb in all of this. I think Kamino wants to play, but he knows that his talents are needed elsewhere, and he knows she needs to step up. So I'm excited to see what that conversation is going to be like next week with Nishida. I'm excited to see what that conversation is going to be like. I think that Sumire is going to get put in. And she's like, well, the world of Karuta is too competitive and tense. Who wants that? Girl, I think you do. I think you just are in denial of how much you want it. She's just like Taichi. She's in denial of how much she wants it. Once she realizes and accepts that she wants it, that's when I think the doors are going to open up for her. I like the Empress. Every time she was getting red-faced, the one coach would look back and she'd turn back to normal. And then when he looked away, she'd be right back to it. So yeah, Nakayama, your drive has impressed me. To think you would work so hard at Karuta for the sake of doing well in the quiz championship. But that's not it. Nakayama's doing good in Karuta because he likes Karuta. He's like, I work hard at the quiz championship for the sake of Karuta. He's like, I love this atmosphere. It's silent. You can hear people breathe. It's tense, like around. And then Chihaya expels all of the CO2, all of the toxins from her body. She does a deep exhale and then breathes in all of the positive vibes she can. And she takes this moment. I like that she's picked this up from Pseudo. I like Pseudo has taught her that she can do this. That's really, really awesome. And then Nishida and Scuba, she's like, I can feel it rushing in. I can see it. Mm-hmm. And so then, whatever his name is, our curly-haired guy from Mioka, the kinks were unlocked today. He realized he had a sexual awakening on the Karuta mat today because he's like, wow, she's kind of pretty. And then he's like, star-wise, she's a Vega. She's Orihime. And he says, I don't mind it when she looks down on me. I'm like, oh, do you not mind if she looks down on you? Sir, that kink's been unlocked and that's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. Maybe you need to go find Shinobu and talk to her because she would talk down to you all day. Ooh, I was like, oh, so, I mean, I know Orihime. That's the whole point about the love story between, I think of Bleach, the story of Orihime. In that one, it's the same star story. We've talked about that previously, but I want to talk about Bellatrix, the constellation. I know Bellatrix being used, the Bellatrix in Orion. So, Bellatrix is the third brightest star and the candidate binary star in the constellation Orion. It is, let's see, what is the mythology? Bellatrix was also called the Amazon star, which is proposed with the loose translation of the Arabic name Al-Najid, the Conqueror. An Arabic celestial globe records the name as meaning the lion. Bellatrix is one of the 4 navigational stars in Orion that are used for celestial navigation. In the 17th century catalog of stars, the star was designated in a translation of the left shoulder of the giant. The Wardaman people of northern Australia know Bellatrix as Banjan, the sparkling pigment used in ceremonies conducted by the Red Kangaroo leader in a songline where Orion is high in the sky. To the Inuit, the appearance of Betelgeuse and Bellatrix high in the southern sky after sunset marked the beginning of spring and the lengthening of days. The 2 stars were known as those 2 placed far apart, referring to the distance between them mainly to people from one island and one peninsula. Interesting. So yeah, I mean, Bellatrix being the star, if you're talking about distance, I don't know if it's supposed to be representing the distance between like her and Taichi or her and Arata, but I like the idea of her being the conqueror and being with Orion. I also like the idea of it because Bellatrix, when you think of like Amazons or when you think of Orion, it's more of like a gender neutral or more of a masculinated. It's not as quite as feminine as like Orihime, the princess. Which fits Chihaya because Chihaya is not girly. She's really not. She's beautiful, but she's not girly. She's not like Sumire. She's not like Chitose. She's a little bit more like kind of non-binary in that respect. And I like that about her. So nice. Love it. So yeah, Chihaya locks in. Tsutomu ends up losing his match. Kana almost won her match. She was 2 cards off. Bless her. But yeah, I also like the fact that Nishida kind of stood up in this match and he was like, oh, he's like, my my Karuta society that I go to teaches us defensive Karuta. So you can change up them cards all you want, but you're not getting my cards. So we're going to be fine. I'm like, ooh, love it. So I really like Nishida in this episode. He did a really good job of explaining his defense and kind of standing up for himself. I'm glad. After he had that loss against Hokuo, I was worried about Nishida, and I'm glad he's kind of picked up the pieces and he's got back together. That's really nice. Kana did really good. Bless her heart, I really wanted her to win. Losing by 2 cards I think that's fair. But she was so close. I like that her memorization is all about the feeling. I like that it kind of relates to the idea of her not only knowing what the cards mean, but having like the symbolism and the meaning and the themes around them. It wasn't just memorization. But poor Kana, I really thought she was going to win. Meh. But yeah, and then Taichi recognizes that he is in the same ball game as these guys, and he's able to kind of go all out. He's like, you need mental and physical strength to play Karuta. You have to use your body. Love it. It takes both mind and body. So yeah, and then so Chihaya, she's like, oh man, what are we going to do? She has this like shoulder Buddha and shoulder demon that's telling her what to do. And she's like, unfortunately, I belong to the group that can't memorize too well. It's like Nishida and Scuba. Whereas Kana and Taichi do really well. But I like that she talks about, once I realized, here's the thing that Taichi needs to learn from Chihaya. Chihaya in this moment says, once I realized and was self-aware of how I am, I was able to be like, okay, I can't do that. So I'm going to act this way now. I'm going to move towards this. And I feel like if Taichi just let go and realized, like, I can't change what I'm not good at, like what Chihaya is doing here, but he could embrace what he is good at, he'll be unstoppable. And I know it's easier said than done. But I've seen it done before, so I know it is possible. He can do that. He just gotta lock in. And he's getting distracted. But yeah, she gets down to the wire and is able to beat him. And she got lucky. She got a little lucky though, because it got down to all the 1-syllable cards. I think if it hadn't been for that, she might have been, in a little bit of trouble. But the moment she said it's go time, I'm like, whew, girl knew. Mm-hmm. And this guy developed a crush on Chihaya real fast. Because he's like, she moves faster than sound. She can hear the cards being read. I mean, he definitely developed a crush on this day. I don't blame him. Chihaya's amazing. I love it. She's like Bellatrix of the constellation Orion. I love that shot of her with the stars. So good. Mm-hmm. Nice. Good for Taichi. Good for Nishida. Good for Chihaya. Winning their matches. And then Chihaya just immediately passes out. And Taichi's like, come on, wake up, Chihaya. Super cute. Come on, Chihaya. You all know she passes out. But if anything's going to get Chihaya's attention, it's going to be a player realizing the love of Karuta. Chihaya, every time a player is like, I just really liked playing Karuta, Chihaya's like, I just knew they would. Freaking love her. Love how much she loves watching people play Karuta and be excited. He's like, you guys are so smart and so dumb. I love how she's just so moved by seeing a team love the game. Like, girl, I freaking love her. Chihaya just getting so moved. It's so wonderful. Mm-hmm. So then Tsutomu comes around, and that's when Sumire... can we pour one out for Sumire? Sumire came in. Tsutomu was like, congrats on advancing to the playoffs, right? And then Sumire's like, I brought some homemade cookies. Girl spent all night slaving away, making these damn cookies. Spent all night hand baking each and every one of them. And then Taichi's like, oh, I don't want any. She's like, the first one she offers to is Taichi, and he's like, nah, I don't eat for matches. And she's like, I hate my life. I'm like, dude, my dude. Was it rough moving around the rain? He's like, no, it's no problem. She's like, oh yeah, the queen was completely drenched. And then Chihaya's like, oh yeah, I saw that. It was scary. She said she walked in dripping wet, but she was helped by a person in a Fukui t-shirt to let him play in the individual tournament because she wanted to play him. Chihaya like caught it instantly. She's like, Fukui, t-shirt, Arata. That's his middle school. He came here to play. And the thing that I love about this moment is Chihaya wasn't like, why didn't he talk to us? Why didn't he? She was just like, oh my God, he's here with the middle school. He's going to play. Shinobu wants to play him. They're rivals. She's like, the queen has a rival. And she's like, okay. So it's Arata. Like, she knew Arata and Shinobu-chan. She like, because she wants to play him. And I think that I don't think Chihaya is thinking anything romantic out of this situation. I think Chihaya is just like, oh my God, me too, Shinobu. I'm right there with you, girl. We both want to play Arata. Isn't that fun? And she's like, well, Sumire-chan, can you tell me what happened? And every time I see Taichi with his hair covering his eyes, I just want to go and do that to him. He's like, we don't have time for that right now. It's like Taichi becomes this toxic asshole every time. And I'm sorry, I am not that person. I am not as nice as Chihaya. I'm not as nice as her. I wish I was. I want to channel her kindness and course it through my veins. But there's a little bit of pettiness in me. If I was in high school and somebody, some guy, some girl somebody kept coming up to me and they were like, we don't have time, we gotta focus. I'd be like, you need to cool off. I know myself in high school. I would have been able to stand it for about up until now. And then when he's like, we don't have time for that right now, I've been like, you need to calm down. I would have said something because he's being a little bit ridiculous. And she's like, oh, well, she's like Taichi. And he's like, we need to come up with the order for our next match. And I'm like, instead of being like, hey, Chihaya, let's just, well, like you said, if he had just taken her words and been like, hey, let's do like you said, let's just focus on the match and let's just do our best. And if we see him, we see him. But instead he's like, we don't have time for that right now. We have to get the match order together. Just being an asshole. And I'm like, I am waiting for her to tell him to shut up. I'm just waiting for her to just tell him to shut up. Because he is just being a jerk. And he's like, stop it. Queen and Arata. Those words will distract Chihaya. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe if you were paying attention and had faith in this girl, you would notice that she is actually locked in and doing okay. But instead, what he's doing is making her worried for him. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for her to be like, I'm worried about you. And that's because you're freaking me out. So it's going to be Taichi's fault if she gets distracted, is what it's going to amount to. It's going to be his fault if she gets distracted. And I want her to tell him that and be like, well, if you would quit freaking out, I wouldn't be distracted. I really think that's it. And, she's nicer than me. Chihaya's nicer than me. I would have told Taichi to, like, kiss off a while ago. And I'm like, I feel like part of it is that Taichi wants to be this knight in shining armor for her. And he still has that mentality, even though he's grown so much. And he's still working on it. Taichi's a big work in progress, as we all know. He's still, in the back of his mind, is kind of like, I have to be the one to protect Chihaya, and I have to be the one to help get her to move forward. I'm like, bitch, she don't need you. You need yourself more than anything, but she don't need you. And I think that in the back of Taichi's mind, he kind of knows that. And I think this is him just projecting like her needing him when she most certainly does not. And I feel like it's connected to Taichi feeling like he's getting left behind. And so he's like, well, if I'm, Chihaya's keeper, I'll be able to do that. And I'm like, my dude, you just need to... I love them together, I do, but there's a part of me that's like, I think Taichi needs some time away from Chihaya because it's just making him a jerk. And I'm like, that's not going to win her over. Absolutely not. I need her to focus on the team match. And I'm like, she is focused. She won her match. And he's the one thinking, so Arata is here. Yeah, you're the one distracted, my dude. Like, he didn't even let her see the match order. Like... And he's like, well, I think Kamino should step in and be the starting member for the playoffs. And Sumire is like, well, if you're tired and you want to switch out. He's like, what? Well, you must not want to play that badly. He's like, well, you're wrong. Kamino knows how to use the data he's collected. But I feel like this is when Nishida and Tsutomu are going to step in. And maybe they're going to replace Scuba with Sumire and make her play. I think there's a big chance for that. I don't know. Yeah. We're going to use the same he's like, we'll use the same members we've been using for the next match. I think we should go without Destomu-kun. I'm curious to see what we get with their decision next week about who they're going to play next. I don't know who the next squad is. If it's going to be, I don't know if they're going to face another team. They're going to face the girl with the headband. Now, it would make sense based on all the data that has been collected by Sumire, if they were facing the headband girl and her team next, which are the ones that Sumire spied on, it would make sense if they were like, you're going to go in and play with the team because you know these girls and all the data you've collected on them. But yeah, look, don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. I like Taichi a lot and I love his character growth, but in this one episode alone, there was a clear lesson he should have learned from Chihaya locking in and being motivated. Here's the difference. Chihaya is not jealous of Shinobu or Arata. She loves them. She cares about them. And they motivate her to want to be better. And because that gets her worked up. And I'm frustrated with Taichi for two reasons. One, because he's not acknowledging the growth that she's had. She's not the same person she was a year ago. I'm like, and you're around her every day. Do you not notice? He is around her every single day. And you don't notice that she's grown so much. You can't see it in how well she's played in this tournament. She's won every single match she's played. You don't see that? And the other thing is, he's the one that's jealous. He's the one who's distracted. And instead of doing like what Chihaya did in this episode, recognize that self-awareness, say, okay, got it. Now what do I have to do to move forward and win? Instead of doing that, even though he won the game, he's still letting himself get distracted. And I just need somebody to call him out on it. Just somebody to call him out on it. It doesn't have to be Chihaya. Sumire would work great. Sumire is observational. Let her call him out. That would be a character growth moment because Sumire has always been like, oh, I love you, Taichi. I wouldn't say anything bad about you. But if Chihaya's too not aware to see that Taichi's being a jerk, because sometimes, when people are verbally abusive to you, you don't notice that shit. And I'm not saying necessarily Taichi's verbally abusive, but he's teetering there. He's teetering real close there to me. Too close for my comfort. And so I need Sumire, because she's kind of an outsider. She's not like Kano or Nishida. Nishida ain't gonna say shit. Nishida's not gonna say anything. They're bros. Tsutomu probably won't say anything. Kano won't say anything. Sumire, I don't think cares. So I need her to get fed up enough with it and to be like, well, why are you doing this? Like, she's fine. You're the one being weird. I need Sumire. If Chihaya ain't gonna do it, I need Sumire to come out and tell Taichi he's being weird and to get it together. I just need Taichi to get it together. That's all I need. Because Arata's like an angel baby. And Shinobu's weird, but she's like got reasons. So, I have to shout it from the mountaintop because nobody in the comments agrees with me. So, there we go. Anyway. I'm excited for next episode and to see who we're facing. If we have an opponent or if we're facing, I think we're going to face the girl group next. Because, the championship team is down the road. So we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Chihayafuru.